All right, so today in Algebra 2, we're going to be talking about the discriminant and how that can help you figure out how many roots it has. So the discriminant is this expression, b squared minus 4ac. So what it is, it's just the part under the radical of the quadratic formula. So on the back of your notes, you'll see this table. It says that if the discriminant is both greater than 0 and a perfect square, like 25 or 36, something like that, you get two real rational roots. A real rational number would be like 3, -5, 1/2. All these are real rational numbers. The point of this is we're going to use it also in the next section. The roots tell you where the graph crosses the x-axis. If the discriminant is greater than 0, but not a perfect square, such as 2, 37, something like that, then you get two irrational roots. So an irrational number is going to be like radical 2, radical 37, because the discriminant is the number under the radical sign. And so the square root of 2 is an irrational number. So it crosses the x-axis still. It just crosses at like radical 2 is at like what, 1.7 or something like that. The next scenario is that it equals 0. If your discriminant equals 0, you get one real rational root. So that means it crosses or it just touches the x-axis at one place. It doesn't cross it. It just like goes up, touches it, and turns back around. The next scenario is that you get an answer less than 0, like -19 or -2. This is what we would call two complex roots, because you have to remember this is the number under the radical. So the square root of -19 equals I radical 19. It's an imaginary number or a complex number. Or if it's the square root of -2, it's I radical 2. Imaginary numbers can't be graphed. And so when you look at the graph, it's not crossing the x-axis. So that's why you would get an imaginary root. It's also possible that the graph would open down and it could look something like this. It just doesn't touch the x-axis. All right, so finding the discriminant is super easy. All you have to do is label your A, B, and C and plug it into the expression b squared minus 4ac. So it definitely still has to be set equal to 0, and it has to be in standard form. So there's my A, there's my B, there's my C. So to find the discriminant, I'm going to plug -11 in for there. -4 times A, which is 7, times C, which is 5. And I got -19. So -19 is the discriminant. Now it says the type of root. So on your homework, like that's going to be the answer to B, to A, and then B means that you're going to have to come up here. So -19 is less than 0, so you get two complex roots. Letter B is all ready to go, so I have an implied 1 there. So there's my A, B, and C. I'm going to plug these values in for my discriminant. I get 22 squared minus 4 times 1 times 121. I plug that into my calculator. And I got 0. So 0 is my discriminant. And if you come back up here and look at your chart, you'll see if it equals 0, you get one real rational root. Letter C. Okay, so I only have 2 terms. I have my A, and then my constant is my C term. I would probably rewrite this out and put my filler 0 in for the B term. So now I can properly label, and I see what A, B, and C are. And so when I plug them into this discriminant formula right here, 0 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 4. I plug that into my calculator, and I got 80. So 80 is the discriminant. If you take the square root of 80, you would get a decimal. It's not a perfect square. And so 80 is greater than 0, but it's not a perfect square. So if you look up at your chart, that says I get 2 real but irrational roots. And number 16 is not in standard form. So subtract your 1 over. So I get negative 16x squared plus 10x minus 1 equals 0. There's A, there's B, and there's C. So for the discriminant, get B squared minus 4 times negative 16 times negative 1. I plug that into my calculator, and I got 36 for my discriminant. The square root of 36 is 6, and so if you look up above, 36 is greater than 0, and it's a perfect square, and so because of those two things, I get 2 real rational roots. So that's what the discriminant is, and the expression, and how you find it. It is completely reasonable to ask you to memorize these 4 things for your test, because none of this is going to be provided on a test. You will need to memorize if the discriminant is greater than 0, less than 0, or equal to 0, what kind of roots will I get out of it? Email me if you have questions.